Hello and welcome to the program. Just a few days ago, the US once again voiced its opposition to the Nord Stream 2 project. According to American experts, the controversial project will increase Europe's reliance on Russia for gas. Now, in addition, it can provide Kremlin with an opportunity to install undersea surveillance equipment in the Baltic Sea. To talk more about this, we're joined in the studio today by Andrian Prokip. He's an energy expert at the Ukrainian Institute for the Future. Hello, thank you for joining us.
Good to see you.
How will, the big question here is that how will this US sanction influence the economic relations between the EU and the US, which are already deteriorating because of this trade war waged by Donald Trump?
And actually not only by trade war, but also about this Iran nuclear deal that US just withdrawn. The problem is that European Union consider this issue as just, Nord Stream 2 and European energy security and energy supplies as only just European internal issue. And that was a tough statement of German Chancellor and Austrian Prime Minister a couple of months ago that US have nothing to do with banning Nord Stream because it's just European energy security. And it's about European economic and political interest, not all Europe, but some specific countries. First of all, those are Austria and Germany.
So we're thinking Mitteleuropa here, like Austria, Germany, and all this part?
Actually, yeah. So mostly Germany and Austria are interested in the second Nord Stream 2 because companies from those countries they own shares in gas fields in Russia, and in the case of constructing the Nord Stream 2, those two countries will become just the bigger gas transporter from other states to the European Union. So they expected to have economic and political benefits, and actually sanctions may deteriorate US-European Union relations. So, however, that still is a question whether United States will impose those sanctions. Maybe they are talking about this just to have some benefits during the negotiations. So if European Union agree to do some steps that are in favor of the United States, maybe there will be no sanctions. But the problem is, regarding Ukraine, so what will be the interest of the European Union states? First of all, those strong, like Germany, interest in Ukraine and Ukrainian problems. Imposing sanctions is kind of unpredictable step for those, European relations, intra-European relations and US-European relations. And in the case if those sanctions have no backdoor, like for Russia to change its behavior towards Ukraine, or in the case if Russia guarantee in some way that we can guarantee further usage of Ukrainian gas transmission system, it's difficult to predict.
Because there are like different scenarios here. But are we in front of because of this Nord Stream project, are we in front of a global economic war in some sort of ways? Is it one of the alternative scenarios?
It looks like that United States are ready to increase their importance, and gas supplies is just one of the leverages, because US are expanding their LNG export capacities, and actually about, I think it seems to me in 2020 or in 2021 they will have enough capacities to export gas.
So for
to European Union.
Said LNG is like liquefied natural gas, which is contrary of like what's going through the pipeline of Nord Stream.
But another problem for United States is that Russian gas is much more competitive, because extraction cost is lower than extraction in US and then transporting into to Europe. So that can be a part of this big economic puzzle and economic battle.
So we talked about Germany earlier. How to reconcile this vision that Germany publicly is defending Ukraine's interest and saying, okay, so we're we want a UN peacekeeping mission and on security problems, and in the meantime have shares, and certain persons still have shares in Gazprom, still have interest in this project to continue. How to reconcile these two visions, which might be a bit contradictory here?
Now, well, all these are about German national interests. So building the pipeline means like extra profits and extra political influence in Europe, and protecting Ukraine. It's not only about like European values, but it's also about having a safe environment at the European Union borders, and it's also about demonstrating to Russia the power of the European Union, so that Russia can violate international law and can do whatever they want.
But once again, if that goes in the interest of Germany, it might go against the interest of Europe, who wants to stay united and have a united front in front of Putin. Does it play in the hand of in a way, of the Kremlin, which has this strategy of divide and conquer, in a way?
Actually, it plays because Russia and Gazprom wanted to deal with different countries. They didn't want to have this united European gas market. So sure, for Russia and for energy companies, and not only energy companies, it's much more interesting to have divided Europe and to deal with smaller companies and smaller countries rather than one single European Union. So sure, Russia is interested in splitting the European Union.
So in a way, could we say, it's maybe a bit far-fetched, but could we say that the US is inadvertently playing in the strategy of the Kremlin by pushing sanctions on European companies and having like Europe divided that way, that Kremlin can say like, so here we can deal with countries once at a time?
So if there is no backdoor and US just push their own interests and say there are no conditions for levying sanctions, Russia's behavior may become absolutely unpredictable, and it's not very good to have Russia totally unpredictable, including for Ukraine.
And so, to conclude the interview, how do you forecast, how do you see the different scenarios, potential, let's say 2 or 3 potential scenarios, how do you see this unfolding?
Actually, I see 4 scenarios. So the first scenario, that US do not impose sanctions, will not impose sanctions, but they just talk about this. And another scenario, that they started this topic about sanctions just to push European Union and Russia to negotiate. The third scenario is that they will impose sanctions, but for very short term, like it was with Rusal, and after that they will have some negotiations and they will leave sanctions. And the fourth scenario, so it's the hardest, that US impose sanctions without no conditions to leave sanctions for a long time. And so the last scenario is that will deteriorate US-EU relations.
Well, thank you for this overview. It was a pleasure to have you in the studio today to talk about this situation. We will closely follow it. This was Andrian Prokip, an energy expert at the Ukrainian Institute for the Future. Thank you for watching the program. Stay tuned for the rest.